If you've ever sold an investment out of fear during a downturn, only to watch it climb to new highs after you're out, you're not alone. Most of us sabotage our wealth by selling too early. We're wired for loss aversion. Losses hurt twice as much as gains feel good, so we bail out exactly when we shouldn't. Here's what changed for me. I stopped thinking like a trader and started thinking like an owner. In 2026, with inflation eating purchasing power and AI concentrating wealth faster than ever, earning income isn't enough anymore. You need assets working for you. Today, I'm showing you 4 assets to buy and never sell. Things that generate cash flow, appreciate over time, and compound for decades. Let's get into it. Real estate doesn't just appreciate, it pays you while it does. When you own a rental property, you're building equity through mortgage paydown while collecting monthly cash flow. Meanwhile, the property value climbs over time. According to recent Case-Shiller data, even during 2025's slower housing market, with annual gains around 1.4%, real estate has maintained its long-term upward trajectory. The average gross rental yield in the US stands at 6.56% as of late 2025, with some markets averaging 7.45% for single-family rentals. Compare that to global markets where yields often sit below 3%. In cities like Cleveland, reliable rental yields hover around 9.8%. Even when home price appreciation slows, rent keeps flowing. Your tenants are paying down your mortgage, covering property taxes, and handing you positive cash flow. Here's where real estate becomes a true inflation hedge. When prices rise across the economy, landlords raise rents. Housing wealth has eroded in real terms during recent months, with national gains falling short of inflation, but rental income adjusts upward naturally. Over the long run, rents track inflation closely, and in tight housing markets, they often outpace it. The leverage piece changes everything. You can control a $400,000 property with $80,000 down at 20%. When that property appreciates 5% annually, you're not earning 5% on your $80,000. You're earning 5% on $400,000, which is $20,000. That's a 25% return on your actual cash invested, compounded by the monthly rent covering your mortgage. When mortgage rates eventually decline, you refinance and increase cash flow even further. The US tax code is built to favor property owners. Depreciation allows you to deduct the theoretical wear and tear of your building, reducing taxable income even while you collect rent. When you sell, a 1031 exchange lets you defer capital gains indefinitely by rolling proceeds into another property. And when you pass it down, your heirs get a stepped-up basis, erasing decades of taxable gains. Finally, there's something about owning a physical asset that keeps you grounded. Stocks can swing 20% in a week and trigger panic selling. But a house? You don't check Zillow every morning in a cold sweat. The tangibility reduces emotional decision-making. You ride out downturns because the property still generates income and serves a real function. Markets like Chicago, New York, and Cleveland posted gains above 5% annually, even as broader conditions softened in 2025. The best part, you never have to sell. You refinance, pass it down, or live off the cash flow. That's generational wealth. When Warren Buffett talks about investing, he uses the term economic moat, a company's ability to maintain a competitive edge and protect its market share from rival firms. That's what separates a blue-chip stock from everything else. These are companies with brand dominance, pricing power, and scale advantages so entrenched that competition can't easily touch them. Think Procter & Gamble, which owns brands like Tide, Pampers, and Gillette, products people buy without thinking twice, or Johnson & Johnson in healthcare. These companies don't just survive economic downturns, they often come out stronger. The real wealth-building mechanism here is dividend compounding. There are now 69 companies in the S&P 500 Dividend Aristocrats, stocks that have raised their dividends for at least 25 consecutive years. When you reinvest those dividends, you're buying more shares without spending additional cash. Over decades, this snowballs. Dividend growth for aristocrats in 2025 averaged 5.27%, meaning your income stream grows faster than inflation in most years. Blue chips provide stability without sacrificing returns. The S&P 500 Dividend Aristocrats delivered an average excess return of 0.87% in down months over the broad-based benchmark, with a market beta of 0.8. Translation: when the market tanks, these stocks fall less. During the 2008 financial crisis, Companies like Coca-Cola and McDonald's kept paying dividends, while others slashed or suspended them entirely. That consistency matters psychologically. You're far less likely to panic sell a stock that's sending you checks every quarter. When you own shares of Microsoft or Walmart, you're not watching a ticker. You're owning a piece of a business that produces tangible value. People still need toothpaste during recessions. They still buy insurance, use credit cards, consume electricity. That tangibility reduces the urge to trade emotionally. Blue chips are generational assets. 2 companies achieved dividend king status in 2025, RLI Corp and MGE Energy, joining the 56 stocks that have raised dividends for at least 50 consecutive years. These are companies that survived world wars, multiple recessions, oil shocks, and technological revolutions. When you pass these stocks through trusts or inheritance, your heirs receive businesses that have proven they can adapt and endure. You're owning pieces of the economy's foundational infrastructure, companies that will likely outlive you and continue generating income long after you're gone. Before we go further, if you are enjoying this video so far, consider giving it a like. It really helps the channel and tells YouTube that you're interested in this kind of content. Now let's continue. Index funds don't require you to believe in any single company. They require you to believe in capitalism itself. The US economy has survived wars, recessions, technological upheaval, and political chaos, yet the market keeps climbing over time. Owning a total market index fund means you're betting on American innovation, productivity, and growth, not on your ability to pick the next apple. Diversification eliminates catastrophic risk. When you own an S&P 500 index fund, you're holding hundreds of companies across every major sector. If one company collapses or an entire industry struggles, it barely moves the needle. Energy tanks, your tech holdings offset it. Retail slumps, healthcare picks up the slack. This is how the market functions. You're not relying on a handful of bets, you're spreading exposure across the entire economy. Over 10 years ending in December 2024, at least 80% of equity funds underperformed their benchmarks after fees. Over 20 years, 91% of large-cap fund managers underperformed the S&P 500. Most investors pay higher fees for worse results. Index funds flip this equation. Lower costs, better outcomes. The average expense ratio on a total market index fund is often below 0.1%, compared to 0.5% to 1% for actively managed funds. That difference compounds over decades into hundreds of thousands of dollars. The real compound annual growth rate of the S&P 500 with dividends reinvested is roughly 6.9% after accounting for inflation. Cash loses purchasing power every year sitting in a savings account. Bonds often barely keep pace with inflation. Stocks over long periods consistently outpace it. The inflation-adjusted 30-year average stock market return, including dividends, is 7.601%. The psychological benefit is simplicity. You're not chasing hot stocks, reading earnings reports, or second-guessing sector rotations. You automate contributions into your 401k or Roth IRA, reinvest dividends, and let compounding do the work. Boring strategies win because they remove emotion from the equation. When the market drops 20%, index fund investors don't panic sell individual stocks. They're holding the entire market, and they know it recovers. There's no period in the history of the S&P 500 of at least 18 years that hasn't produced a positive real return. The beauty of index funds is that they require almost no maintenance. Set up automatic contributions, reinvest dividends, and ignore the noise. You're not beating the market. You're becoming the market. AI isn't a trend, it's infrastructure. McKinsey estimates generative AI could add between $2.6 trillion and $4.4 trillion annually to the global economy, a figure larger than the entire GDP of the United Kingdom. Goldman Sachs projects AI could lead to a 15% increase in US labor productivity and a 7% increase in global GDP over the coming decade. 75% of knowledge workers are already using AI tools at work, reporting 66% productivity improvements. Like electricity or the internet, AI is transforming how businesses operate at a fundamental level. The AI ecosystem operates in layers. At the hardware level, NVIDIA controls about 92% of the discrete GPU market, supplying the chips that power every major AI model from ChatGPT to Google's Gemini. Hyperscalers like Microsoft, Amazon, Google, and Meta collectively spent over $380 billion on AI infrastructure in 2025. That's the foundation for decades of innovation. Then there's software. Goldman Sachs deployed thousands of autonomous AI software engineers in 2025, expecting 3 to 4 times productivity gains. Enterprise adoption is accelerating across healthcare, finance, logistics, and media. The growth dynamics here mirror the early internet, but faster. AI adoption in firms jumped from 20% in 2017 to 78% in 2025. Projections suggest generative AI alone could contribute an additional 1.5 percentage points to annual US GDP growth by 2035. But unlike the dot-com era, today's AI companies aren't burning cash on inflated valuations. They're generating real revenue and delivering measurable productivity gains. The survivors of the early internet wave, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, are now the dominant AI players, which reduces risk significantly. AI is reshaping labor markets. 170 million new jobs are expected by 2030, offsetting 92 million displaced positions, a net gain of 78 million jobs. Companies that adopt AI early are seeing revenue per employee grow 3 times faster than those slower to adopt. Businesses using AI tools become more profitable, reinvest in better technology, and pull further ahead. For investors, owning AI infrastructure means capturing that productivity surge as it scales. The key is balancing exposure. You don't need to pick the next AI unicorn. Most will fail. Own the picks and shovels. Nvidia held 92% of the GPU market in early 2025, and companies like Microsoft and Alphabet are building AI directly into their core products. Broad AI-focused ETFs spread risk across semiconductors, cloud platforms, and software providers. The risk is buying into hype cycles, short-term price swings driven by headlines rather than fundamentals. But if you're holding for decades, you're betting that AI becomes as essential as electricity. And based on current adoption rates, that's not a stretch. This is early-stage infrastructure for the next century. Wealth isn't built by chasing the next hot stock or timing the market. It's built by owning assets that compound for decades. Real estate generating cash flow, blue chips paying growing dividends, index funds capturing the entire economy, and AI infrastructure powering the future. These 4 asset categories outlive careers and economic cycles. Buy them, hold them, let compounding do what it does best. That's how you build financial independence. If you found this valuable, take a second to hit the like button. It really supports the channel. And if you want to keep watching more content on finance, investing, and building real wealth, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching.